Never Been Kissed is a fever dream of crap. It's a masterclass in garbage. Action. Hey, hi, hello. Oi, I'm Eric, and this is StutterBox, a show where I talk about movies while trying not to stutter. And today we're talking Never Been Kissed, 1999. I don't know what it was about the 90s, but there was a bunch of movies that came out that shouldn't have ever been made. Never Been Kissed, if you've never heard of it, follows Josie Geller, played by Drew Barrymore, an editor from a newspaper who goes undercover to a high school to find out what kids are doing these days. And when you say it like that, it's fine. But then I rewatched it, and I don't know what to say. Make Soho queer again because straight people need to stop. Is this what passed for a romantic comedy in the 90s? It's an amalgamation of bad decisions that truly begs the question, who authorized this? Who greenlit this story? Who gave them the budget to do this? It's incredibly inappropriate. It's problematic. So, spoiler alert, we're gonna discuss Never Been Kissed. Let's talk about it because there's a lot to talk about. Before we get started, don't forget to leave a like down below and subscribe to my channel and share. Okay, now that that's out of the way. If you've never watched the movie, where have you been living? But if you have, if you want to take a walk down memory lane, then stick around. Without further ado, this is Never Been Kissed, 1999. Put it in your pocket. The movie opens with Josie Geller, played by Drew Barrymore, and she's standing on a pitcher's mound on a football field, and there is a huge crowd in the audience just cheering her on. And in a voiceover, she talks about how she wasn't always like this. A few weeks ago, you couldn't even pick her out from a crowd. We then cut to a few weeks before, and we meet Josie Geller, played by Drew Barrymore, who is the youngest copy editor at the Chicago Sun-Times. She even has her own office, her unlimited stationery supplies, and her own assistant. And for someone so successful at such a young age, she dresses like a middle-aged divorced mom with 3 kids who doesn't have time to cook a meal or take care of herself. And she also has this very annoying habit that persists through the entire movie of just constantly correcting people's grammar. Because I guess we gotta know that this woman is very smart and she's a good writer. She knows English. She's very proficient at the language. And although she's only a copy editor, one of her biggest aspirations is to become a reporter, to which her supervisor / boss tells her she's not ready, she's not messy enough, she needs to always be in control, whereas a journalist and a reporter needs to have that drive, that edge to go follow a story, to get right in the middle of the mess. We also find out that she's never been kissed before. She's 25. Unless you're actively practicing celibacy, unless there's like a specific reason as to why you have never gotten involved with a human being on a romantic or sexual level, like what is going on? Do you need to talk? And she goes on to say that she's never had this moment where you kiss someone and you know you only want to kiss that person for the rest of your life. But she's talking about it like it's a 12-year-old girl fantasy. Meanwhile, she's a 25-year-old editor at a newspaper talking to her middle-aged friends. In a team meeting, the editor-in-chief of this newspaper is talking about how he found out that his son has a peanut allergy. To basically say that parents don't know their children well enough. But he remembers that the best age to really get to know kids is in high school. So he looks at Josie and reckons she's the youngest one in the room and tells her, without even asking her, he tells her, you're going to go undercover to a high school and you're going to find out what kids are doing these days. We're going to uncover the story of the decade. We're going to make a huge splash. All we need is this grown woman to befriend a bunch of teenagers in secret. And she's completely elated because finally she's getting the opportunity to be an undercover reporter. Josie meets up with her brother, Rob, played by David Arquette. He's a 23-year-old man who works at a shop. He's a man-child. He's not 23 in any sense of the word or age or reality. A 30-year-old looking man-child who still dresses like a teenager and says Rufus instead of cool. And when she tells him that she's going to go undercover to a high school, he reminds her that when she was in high school, she was an absolute loser. She was bullied relentlessly. I don't think we needed Rob to tell us that she was bullied, because how is she not bullied right now as an adult? She needs to be bullied. And even though the reminder shakes her up a little bit, we jump to the first day of school, and this is what she chose to wear. This is her debut outfit in modern day high school. Somehow, no one suspects that she's an adult, mostly because all the other high schoolers are played by actors of her age. Her first day is a mess. She just walks up to random popular kids and is like, "What are your aspirations and hopes and dreams? Let me eat my lunch." It's established pretty quickly that she's an awful reporter. She's terrible at her job, and her boss was right. She was not ready for this. She befriends a fellow student called Aldis. She's the only nice person in this whole school, and convinces Josie to join the calculus club, like mathletes or something. That's where the losers are, and those are the only people that are gonna befriend Josie. 3 weeks go by, and Josie has no story. She just cannot get in with the popular kids. And juicy stories are with the popular ones, not the geeks. Her boss gets super pissed off when a rival newspaper breaks out a story of a place where kids do drugs and drink alcohol and have sex, and tells her that she needs to befriend the popular kids ASAP, otherwise she's going to be in big trouble. Unfortunately, none of them would want to go near her with a 10-foot pole because of the way she dresses and acts and talks and walks and gestures and exists. Stunted emotional growth. She confides in her brother that she's not really getting the story that she needs. They're literally kids, and you're a grown woman. Why are you so intimidated by them? Hello? And then he gives her a makeover and he turns her into a parakeet. She's so bad at her job that they assign a surveillance team. They give her a hidden camera and a little brooch, and then there's this dude outside of the school in a van constantly spying on the minors through the camera feed. It's so creepy. Also, it sounds like a lot of investment from a newspaper to get just one feature. It's been 3 weeks of her just attending high school full time. She has no friends, she has no story, she has no leads, and the solution? Give her more resources. Worse than that, these resources are being used to spy on literal minors. Hello. As the story progresses, we meet her English teacher, whom she impresses several times because she's smart, she went to university, she writes for a living, she's a great writer, and he's just impressed by the amount of knowledge she has. Now, y'all know where this is going. Her brother, the 30-year-old looking man-child, decides to enroll in this school because why not? You know, if the sister can do it, why can't he? And he also wanted to go to college on a sports scholarship. I think he wants to be a baseball player or whatever. Aren't there certain requirements for you to just enroll in school? But he also says that he's doing this because he wants to help her become more popular so that she can do her job and report on one story and stop hanging around a bunch of kids. And lo and behold, the first day he becomes super popular. All he has to do is act like a disgusting man. Boys will be boys and girls will be drooling. And in her really poor efforts of becoming part of the popular squad, she ends up alienating the only good friend she made, which was Aldis. The school holds a fair to raise money for the prom, and she tries riding the Ferris wheel by herself, but since that's not allowed, her professor volunteers to ride with her. And they bond because he's afraid of heights. Clearly, he's developing feelings for her. In his mind, she is a 17-year-old student. He starts talking about his girlfriend and his personal problems and conflicts. And then he's like, when you're my age, guys will be lined around the block for you. Oh, you're just saying that because you're my teacher. And he's like, I shouldn't be saying this because I'm your teacher. Ugh. The turning point is when they find out that a rival school is doing the same theme for their prom, the Millennium. So this specific class take it upon themselves to come up with a new theme. And for some reason, one of the popular kids, a guy called Guy, he's like, Josie's gonna tell us the theme. But why? 2 weeks ago, you didn't know she existed. A week ago, you were making fun of her relentlessly. But now, Josie, save us. And her brilliant idea is to go with men for each other. Famous couples throughout history, and everybody rages about this idea. Everyone is in love with this concept, and all of a sudden she's popular now. She's hanging out with the popular kids, she's dressing normal, continues flirting with her professor nonstop in super inappropriate settings and ways. And now all of her coworkers are holding viewing parties. They're just sitting around eating popcorn and watching the camera feed of her boob. I guess none of them have jobs and would rather spend hours of their day spying on, again, literal minors from the point of view of their loser coworker. You cannot make this up. But now she has a new lease on life. She's confident, assertive, flirtatious, full of personality and panache. But it's been weeks and she still has no story. Who is paying for her to just go to school and do nothing? So she finally gets a deadline. She has 2 weeks to deliver the story. She's going to school full time, Monday to Friday. So she's not working. I don't even know how she's attended this meeting. Isn't she supposed to be in biology class or something? But yeah, she has a deadline, 2 weeks, or she's gonna lose her job and her boss as well. She goes to a house party at her own house, and while there, she notices that Rob is in a inappropriate relationship with a 16-year-old gymnast, and she's about to tell him why it's illegal when she gets whisked away by Guy, the popular Guy. It's so jarring how they just glance over grooming and statutory rape like it's a trivialized joke, like tee. He's 23 impersonating a 17-year-old and he's about to f the 16-year-old. Guy takes her up to her own bedroom and says that Rob's sister must have been a loser. Her room looks like it belongs to a 9-year-old. But yeah, he takes her there to invite her to prom and she says yes. In a normal high school story, if a boy takes you upstairs to a room, you're gonna f. They want to tell the story, but they don't want to take the risks. And the risk would have been her having sex with a minor and then going to jail. But we don't want to do that because this is a family-friendly movie. Her professor starts growing closer and closer and even manages to pull some strings to arrange a meeting between her and a guy at Dartmouth so she can go to university and invest in her writing. He believes a lot in her talent. He wants to this girl so bad. And that's when her supervisor's like, this is going to be your story. Inappropriate teacher-student relationship. How far is too far? And that's genuinely the first smart thing anyone said in this movie. That would be a great story. And everyone in the office has been watching the feed, including the editor-in-chief, and they all think that the guy is into her, which to them is no big deal because they know she's 25. But to everyone else, that man is the predator. Right? So it's prom night. Rob and Josie, the 23 and the 25-year-olds, are all dressed up and excited to attend the teenage prom. But this time, rather than humiliated, Josie attends it with one of her popular boys. And her coworkers all make a night of it like it's game night. They're just eating popcorn and they're betting on who's going to win prom king and prom queen. If I worked with a bunch of grown-ups that spent their nights watching this, I would call the police. And at prom, Rob's 16-year-old girlfriend is horny, lit, and wants to tells him that he's the one and is ready to lose her virginity to him. Romantic. Josie gets crowned prom queen and Guy gets crowned prom king. And this brings her story full circle. You know, she went from a 17-year-old brace-wearing loser to a 25-year-old cool prom queen. And all it took was 8 years, a popular brother, and an appropriate romance with her professor, and a team of reporters and editors from the Chicago Sun-Times. She's a lost case. And then she has a conversation with her professor, and he's like, you look so beautiful. You underage beauty. I want you right now. I'm laughing because they're framing this as a comedy, but this is genuinely very bad behavior. What if you in her position fell in love with him, and then the guy fell in love with you? How would you feel? Because he's falling in love with a 17-year-old you. So, like, what happens when you tell him you're 25? He's going to do a Leonardo DiCaprio and walk out. No, I guess you'd have a year, and then he'd walk out. And then he confides in her that he's broken up with his girlfriend, because that's definitely a piece of information that a student needed to hear at her prom. Her coworkers are all cheering them on, but queer people are the groomers, right? The popular kids decide to mess with Aldis because she's smart. She's not afraid to talk back. What would be a high school movie without some good old high school bullying for no reason? And so Guy asks Aldis for a dance. She accepts reluctantly, sort of. Then the popular girls, the Barbie trifecta, one of them is Jessica Alba, are about to throw a can of dog food at her. And just as Josie and her teacher are about to profess their predatory love for each other, Josie notices from a corner of her eye that her old friend Aldis is about to be humiliated. She runs, stops them in time, and they're like, we knew it. You're not cool. You're a loser. Yeah, you're a loser for being a decent human being, you dirty bitch. And she's had it. She's close to tears. And she's like, no, I'm not a loser. I am a 25-year-old undercover reporter who's here to spy on you. Her professor hears that and immediately walks out. He doesn't even need to hear the rest of the story. All he heard was, this girl is not 17. I'm not interested. He left so quickly when he heard that she was of age. He was like, what? And then she gives this speech that I'm really not interested in.
You will spend your lives trying to figure out how to keep others down because it makes you feel more important. There's a big world out there, bigger than prom.
She leaves the gym and has a quick chat with the guy that's been sitting in the van outside the school this entire time. And the professor overhears them talking about the story, that he's the story. For some reason, he's mad that she's not a 17-year-old student anymore. She's a 25-year-old reporter. He literally goes, I can't look at you the same way. I'm sorry, Josie, you're just not that young, naive, underage girl anymore. The boner I had for you went away as soon as I found out that you can legally drink. Instead of being happy that he's not a predator and falling in love with minors, he's just pissed off. The charm is gone. The charm is worn off Drew Barrymore. Rob is pissed at Josie because in her big grand speech, she did say that her brother made her cool, and it was only thanks to him that people started hanging out with her. So she ruined his chances as well. But I guess it was for the better because he was about to have sex with a minor and potentially go to prison. Statutory rape is no joke, nor should it be a punchline for a joke, but never been kissed. Never heard of that before. They are daring and edgy and they take risks. A rival newspaper reported on the story that her cover was blown during prom. They're in trouble, but she is hell-bent on making this work and promises to deliver an incredible, great story. And so the story is about herself. She made herself into the story. She talks about how as a 25-year-old, she's never been kissed. Because in high school, she was invited to prom by the popular guy, only to be humiliated because it was all a prank from the beginning. And she's never been able to recover since then. Now listen, I'm no stranger to bullying in high school. I'm no stranger to humiliation in high school. You know, you don't get to grow up queer in rural Portugal and make it out without a scar or two. I get that she was traumatized by that, but like, it's not a reason to go celibate. You've had plenty of years since then. You don't need to live in this 12-year-old mentality anymore, but goddamn, can people just get her a vibrator or something? She needs to know what an orgasm feels like. And she's pretty. You know, she's got people around her that dress normally. I'm sure that someone could give her some tips and help in revamping her 60-year-old cat owner wardrobe, but instead, no, she insists on dressing like she's about to visit her grandkids. And she talks about the assignment that she was sent undercover, and during this assignment, she ended up learning more about herself. She does have one regret, which is that she hurt this teacher while she was discovering who she is, or who she was pretending to be. The article finishes with an apology, and she adds that she'll be waiting on the pitcher's mound at the state championship football game for 5 minutes, hoping that he meets her there and gives her her very first kiss. So I'm allergic to bullshit. She promised the school's football coach that she would invite every reporter she knew in exchange for this opportunity to stand in front of this entire crowd for 5 minutes waiting for her Prince Charming. A normal person would be like, no, obviously he's not going to show up because it would just confirm that he's an inappropriate predator. The clock starts ticking down, and at first the crowd is super engaged, enthusiastic, excited, looking forward to seeing this 25-year-old woman be kissed for the first time. Then the clock reaches 0, the timer runs out, and she stands there humiliated in front of everyone. And then the movie ends. No, I'm just kidding. He gets there late, and he goes up to her, and he kisses her in front of everyone, and everyone's super happy for her. Oh, and she got her brother a job as an assistant coach, so he's now coaching the students that he was hanging out with a few days ago. And, yeah, the movie ends. And that's it for today, guys. Never Been Kissed. I just want to know who authorized this movie. What a messy mess. Thank you so much for watching. Again, leave a like, subscribe, share, and yeah, stick around. Click the bell thing. You don't want to miss the Rolodex of things I've got planned. Stay safe, stay sane, stay stupid, and stay stuttery.